there's changes that have happened in the industry. My guess is that the client base may be different and the requirements from the clients may be different. New people may be looking for trainers that potentially weren't because of the COVID scare, and they realize they need to get healthy. And then on the instructor side, new people are coming in trying to figure out where their niche is. Existing people maybe trying to do the same. So what if we start with the trainer, what are they now needing to kind of look for? Is it, look, you just need to understand how to be a good trainer, or are there any other things or skills that probably weren't quite as important before that they're now needing to or gravitating to, would you say?
I think it's a lot of the same things that I teach the trainers that I work with at YouFit. It's, we always say you want to make an income and you want to make an impact. You want to be a great trainer and a successful trainer, and they're not the same thing. I can be a phenomenal trainer that could get you results, but if I'm not in front of people all day, I'm not going to be very successful. So you need to be great to be successful. And I think that part comes in first, is understanding the business side of fitness. And I think obviously 2020, you realize really quick, wait, do I have a grip on my financials? Do I understand how I make money? Do I understand my comp plan, whether I'm with a big chain or I'm independent? So I think people are realizing how important understanding the business of fitness is, and not just, hey, I like to work people out and have fun, and that's all great, but knowing how to make money. And then the other piece of it is, well, what do my clients really looking for now? Because I think the sentiment of what they wanted has changed. We've seen a lot of stats go from, it used to be so focused on weight loss, right? I want to look better, and that's going to make me feel better, all these other things that they think. And now they're thinking, well, I need to be a little bit healthier. So it's not so much about the aesthetic gains as it is getting into the psychology. We've seen all these mental health apps come out, and we always joke that as a personal trainer, you're like 60% therapist, 45% working somebody out. So you see a lot more people investing in understanding motivational interviewing, behavior change of what types of habits can I actually teach somebody so that they're going to do these things outside of the gym that are going to make themselves feel better physically and mentally. And then you get this flywheel going of the better you feel about yourself, the more good things you're going to do for yourself. And then the better you feel, the more you're going to feel good about yourself. So it's this great cycle of improvement. So we really need to understand business and a lot more psychology, motivational interview, and just making exercise more fun at the end of the day.
So has a lot of that then been driven, and correct me if I'm wrong, to understand what you're saying. So with people coming in now wanting something different from their fitness trainer, my guess then that's causing or a requirement for a trainer to probably be a slightly different person. So rather than a weight loss, fat loss expert, it's something else. Is that what you're seeing? So they've got to be slightly more rounded in a different direction because of what the market's looking for.
Definitely. I think the way that you're going to keep a client, I think what a lot of people realize is if you have a relationship, you can carry that client through anything that's going to be going on in their life or macroeconomic world, anything like that. If you have a relationship, they're going to value that. If you're just somebody who tells me what to eat, shows me the exercise, counts my reps, you're not going to sustain your clientele and you're not going to grow your business. I think people are becoming more aware of the importance of a relationship. And I've always said for my clients, you can keep a client for 6 months if you get them great results, but you can only keep them for a year longer if you have a great relationship.
Right. How are the education providers meeting those changes as well? Have they done a good job of it? Because I guess they've got to evolve as well. It's no longer probably doing this thing. They've probably got to create new curriculums, etc. So are you seeing those evolving, or are you seeing any new people that are coming in probably that weren't around before that are really kind of hitting this? Because there's a couple of things I've certainly seen that are becoming really popular is the whole recovery side. And it's like, well, where do you go and learn about that, and what's required outside of following podcasts and YouTube. And then the mental health coaching, those seem to be two things that I've felt. I'd be interested in your views. And then secondly, how's the education filling some of those needs?
Starting with the second part of that, recovery is definitely huge. I think we've seen that for the last couple of years, and that's where it gets really interesting, where I think a lot of consumers and a lot of trainers, they want to go with the fanciest thing. And so it's almost like taking supplements when your diet isn't right. Okay, if you don't sleep, does it really matter if you have the greatest massage device? You can't out-massage 4 hours of sleep. So I think you're seeing a lot of trends with recovery, but I also see a lot of people going to, let me do cryotherapy, let me do red light therapy. And those things are great, they're phenomenal, but it's like that last 10%. If you don't sleep well, if you don't stretch, if you don't de-stress your body, those things can only get you so far, and they can facilitate. So recovery is there. I just see a lot of people going for the coolest thing rather than remembering what the human body is. And then in terms of education, you are seeing some sessions here on recovery. You are seeing sessions on motivational interviewing, and I think the certifications are pivoting to that. And the other big piece that I've seen is you have a lot of new people, like always, coming into the industry, and those people are learning differently now than they were in the past. So, if you ever took a certification, you got this giant textbook and you got 20 hours of video lectures. People do not have the patience for that. So what I've been talking to them a lot about is the learning and development approach. So it's great to get somebody to buy your education, but if you want them to get a specialization, you want them to stay in the industry, they have to actually learn what you're teaching. So what I've seen and I've talked to them about is micro-learning. So how can you take this 30-minute lecture, how can you take this 30-page chapter and put it into very small segments, almost like an Instagram reel, right, so that they're gonna wanna watch it and they can just take one takeaway, one nugget at a time. And then the other piece of that is you've gotta create tools and not just knowledge. So it's one thing to understand anatomy, physiology, maybe the acute variables that you would use in a workout, the sets, the rest, the tempo, the intensity, but it's another thing to say, hey, here's the workout that you can go right now, take to your client and follow this template. So how easy can you make it to immediately apply the education? So I think you're seeing certifications realize, okay, they're not gonna read the whole textbook. They don't wanna spend that much time, but I need to make sure that they can create safe, effective programmings, build relationships. So here are the tools that you can take right away and apply, even if you don't fully understand the science.
Right. You're in this all day, every day. This is part of your role within YouFit. When I talk to a lot of people, I can't help thinking that there's a lot of really good research that's been done. I don't know whether it's happened recently because of what's happened in the pandemic, or whether some of this is just becoming more aware. And some of the, whether it's from your nutrition, whether it's fasting, recovery that we spoke about in terms of sleep and how to sleep, whether it's cold therapy and how to do it and when to do it and how that relates to exercise and what you should do for strength training and HIIT training, that there seems to be so many new things that are coming out. And if you want to stay on top of it at the moment, you follow great podcasters or people that are sort of taking information. Andrew Huberman, for an example, is a great example. I learned so much from him. What's the role of an operator, trainer, and education provider? Because I suppose historically these were places you went to get the information first. You either went to your trainer or you went to your fitness club that had that trainer within there, and the trainers came to events like this to sort of really get this first. And now with the way media's changed and social media, it's like you can get those small clips and you can get a little post and it's like, okay, here's what to do in terms of sleep. This is what you do for cold therapy, etc. How can people that are in the business sort of move with a lot of these fundamental changes and make sure that they don't sort of almost become obsolete, where me as a consumer, I can sort of shortcut that and say, well, I'm going to listen to this guy because he knows way more than what you do, as an example. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's always been a ton of information out there, and the hardest thing for a consumer is what's true, what's accurate, what applies to me. So I think that's where the role is always an individualization of, yeah, there's a ton of amazing techniques. They don't work equally for everyone. They won't work equally for you, even just based on the day. So let's say you didn't sleep well. Should you be doing that specific type of workout? Is there a better type of recovery service? So there's a lot of information, but how can we as operators develop our teams to understand, yes, you've got a million different tools on the belt, and they're probably gonna ask you about this diet or this tool, and you need to be aware of those so that you have some credibility. But the biggest piece is understanding we're gonna individualize for you, and I'm gonna know, hey, this is the tool that we're gonna pull off the belt today, and this is gonna be the best one for you because I understand how your body moves, what's going on with your life at home, and this is gonna be effective. And ultimately the test is going to be, You can pull something off of online and then you can do it as a consumer. Did you actually get better? Do you feel better? As a trainer, as an operator, I know for sure that you're going to feel better. And if you come in my doors, let's say you feel like you're at a 6 out of 10 for the day, you're a little bit tired, I pull off the right belt, maybe the right recovery tool, the right workout, and now you leave at a 7 out of 10, an 8 out of 10, you're going to come back to me because I made you feel better.
Do you think, though, that now changes the role for a trainer? Whereas, because I agree with everything that you said, and when I learn about a subject, I'm in a fortunate position. I can interview loads of people, and I find out what I thought when I read it, and now I've gone into it and I've researched it. It's like, oh, actually, that could be quite dangerous. I took the sort of sound bite, and it's like, yeah. And my guess, when I talk to people, they're like, oh yeah, I'm doing this diet, I'm doing that diet, and when you start sort of qualifying them, you realize, look, actually, you need to answer a few more questions before you realize that's the path you want to go on, because until you sort this out, you may be leading yourself to some other issues. And it comes from even supplementation. Everyone tells you to do this thing, but if you don't figure that out, you're actually getting yourself in a terrible hole. So do you think the role of the trainer also is to be aware of all of that and to now become this expert of, you putting more investment in your own personal education to say, look, I need to understand all these things that you're looking at, and then I need to be able to kind of then advise you and know enough about it to say, well, look, this is why you shouldn't do the Joe Rogan type of diet, for example, where because 10 years or 15 years ago, you probably didn't need to do that because the consumers weren't picking these things up. What do you think?
I think anything related to diet or trends is you definitely need to know of it so that if you get a question, you're aware of it. And the biggest piece is what's going to work for you. It's almost like you think about a financial risk, and on a spreadsheet, this may be the best decision, but if you don't have the risk tolerance or you have more risk aversion for that, maybe it's not the right decision because you can't follow through with it. And it's the same thing in fitness. Maybe theoretically, this would be the best diet for you, but you have 2 kids at home. Are they going to want to follow that type of diet? Or you travel a lot. Is this program realistic when you need to go in a hotel gym, whereas maybe you needed a power plate and you need all these fancy tools, and so now you can't execute your program? So I think a lot of it is understanding what those things are, but more so, how do we fit that into your lifestyle so that you're successful? The number one reason that somebody is successful with their fitness and health goals isn't that they have the best program, it's that they're the most consistent.
Right.
The person who comes in 3 times a week for a year always beats the person who comes in 5 times a week for 3 months, totally falls off the wagon, gets back on, and they yo-yo, and at the end of the year, they end up with more weight than they started with. Meanwhile, the other person, the tortoise and the hare, got the better results in the end. So a lot of it is understanding what's realistic for you. It's so easy to get excited. You see something on TV, you see something at an expo, and you think it's the best thing in the world, and it might be phenomenal, but can you stick with it and stay consistent? That's really the big question. And as a trainer, that's ultimately your goal is to be consistent. One, because if they don't show up, you don't get paid. So you want them to show up, and you want them to see results outside of the gym too. So I don't want to give you something that's phenomenal, but that you can't execute on.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, then please go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Leave a review, leave a comment. It really would help us a lot to continue to keep these going.